This is WFMZ TV. You're watching 69 News Election Central. Now from the anchor desk, here's Rob Vaughn and Wendy Davis.
Good evening. For the Republican Party, today is seen as a chance to reclaim the direction of the country.
For the Democrats, it's a battle to hold on to the gains made in 2008.
For a lot of voters, if you believe the conventional wisdom, it's a chance to throw the bums out regardless of party.
It's all about the economy, whether you believe that big government is hampering recovery or that government is the only power looking out for the little guy, whether you're worried about taxes or budget cuts. This election seems singularly focused on the economy.
That's for sure. After months of relentless campaign commercials, I'm sure you'd agree, finally today the public gets to have its say. Tonight we'll find out what that is, and we'll do our best to bring it to you from every angle. Good evening once again. I'm Rob Vaughn.
And I'm Wendy Davis, and welcome to 69 News Election Central. Our reporters are fanned out across the state. We're going to be bringing you live reports from the headquarters of Senate candidates Pat Toomey and Joe Sestak, from Pittsburgh, where both gubernatorial candidates are, Dan Honorato and Tom Corbett, and from many of our local congressional campaigns as well.
We will also be speaking tonight with Muhlenberg College political science professor Chris Borick for his insights and some analysis and just what does all this mean tonight. So that should be a fun part of the discussion. So whether you live in Berks County or the Lehigh Valley or Bucks or Montgomery or in Jersey or the Poconos, sit back and we'll bring you the most thorough local election coverage you can find.
So without further ado, we're going to get right to it. We should have some early tallies in the race for U.S. Senate. Taking a look at those now.
And here we go, the Sestak-Toomey race. Keep in mind, these are very early figures. Up in the right-hand corner, you'll get used to the way this graphic looks as the evening goes along. 9% of the districts reporting from the vast state of Pennsylvania. So you have Sestak out in the early lead, what represents 63% of the vote from those 9% of the precincts to Pat Toomey's 37%.
All right. Let's get right started with our reporters right now. We're going to go to Joscelyn Moes. She is covering Sestak for us tonight. Hi, Joscelyn.
Hi, guys. This has been quite a race with the two candidates coming into Election Day, running virtually even. We're here at the Radnor Hotel in St. David's, Delaware County, where supporters are milling about, watching the returns come in. Now, the mood here is optimistic. We've heard a number of cheers coming from the opposite side of the room where the supporters are gathered. So the preliminary results coming in right now, things are looking good so far. Right now we're joined by April Melody, a spokesperson for the Sestak campaign. Thank you for joining us. How are things looking so far?
I think we're very positive. There's been great turnout. People are enthusiastic, and as you can hear, people are looking forward to our next senator.
Now, it's been virtually nonstop campaigning, and Sestak has definitely closed the gap in the polls coming into Election Day. Talk a little bit about that effort.
Yeah, he's been out there day in and day out. Yesterday alone, he had 17 events. This morning, he had several more. So he's been nonstop, just out there talking to the people, shaking hands, 24/7, really.
Now, how important was it to reach out to that moderate vote? Both candidates in this race have sort of been cast as the extreme candidate. How important was it to reach out to the moderates here?
I think very important. I think, Joe's approach is, practical problem solving. And he's always tried to take a practical approach to everything he looks at. So his opponent has been a little more extreme, and so I think people in Pennsylvania are ready for a problem solver, really.
All right, April, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll be here throughout the evening bringing you updates when they become available. But again, the mood here at the Radnor Hotel, definitely optimistic as we go through the night. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right. Thanks, Joscelyn. Early returns looking good, but still very early.
Yep, very early. Yes. So I'm sure things are optimistic in terms of the mood at the Toomey camp as well tonight. And Toomey's people are gathered at the Holiday Inn in Fogelsville in Lehigh County. And that's where our John Derr is standing by. John?
Hi, Rob and Wendy. We've got a packed house here at the Holiday Inn in Fogelsville, and the Pat Toomey supporters here hoping the winds of change that are blowing across Washington tonight are also blowing across Pennsylvania as they're hoping their candidate comes out on top. And joining me now is Tim Kelly, the press secretary for the Toomey campaign. And Tim, the early numbers we've seen so far have been in that 65-35% range for Joe Sestak, but you're saying that's not a bad thing.
No, it's not. I think that, there's very, very few precincts that have reported right now. And, we've actually just got some great news. I believe ABC is given the governor's race to Tom Corbett. I think that's a great sign for Republicans in Pennsylvania. And we also recently heard out of Philadelphia, there aren't definite numbers coming out of Philadelphia right now, but I think Fox News just mentioned that there haven't been any precincts reporting over 30% turnout. So again, another good signal for us early on. I think that there's always higher Democratic turnout in Philadelphia, and some ground for us to make up as a result. But I think that we have some very, very strong Republican numbers coming out of the collar counties and in other parts of the state tonight. So
a lot of people say Philadelphia is the key, and the Democrats brought in some heavy hitters to try and get out the vote in Philadelphia. But is the key for your candidate to get out the vote in the surrounding areas of Philadelphia?
Well, we want to turn everyone out across the state. I think that voters, they're not impressed with flashy endorsements. They want good message, a good candidate. We know what Joe Sestak's all about. We know his voting record. We know what he's done in Congress. We know what he wants to do when he's a senator. And I think that it's just not a message that's resonating with Pennsylvania voters. I think no matter who you bring into Philadelphia, it's not going to excite people if they're not enthusiastic about the candidate on the ballot. So we feel great going into tonight.
Both candidates have referred to the other as extreme, one on the far right, one on the far left. How did your campaign go about trying to get those voters that are maybe in the middle and undecided?
I don't think any of us on our campaign, and I think there aren't many voters in Pennsylvania who think Pat Toomey's an extreme candidate. If you want lower taxes, if you want economic growth, Pat Toomey's the candidate. I don't think that's offensive to Democrats, Republicans. I think it's a strong, fiscally responsible message that resonates with all voters. So the extreme label, I don't quite buy into it. I don't think many other people do.
Do you think the Tea Party movement has been beneficial to Pat's campaign, or has it hurt it? And the Democrats have tried to link Pat Toomey to people like Christine O'Donnell.
I think the O'Donnell connection is not really, there's no connection to make. I think the Tea Party movement is a very it's an impressive movement. I think it's certainly helpful. It's citizens who are engaged in the political process who want, their name is taxed enough already. They want lower taxes. They want fiscal responsibility in Washington, and that's been our message from day one. So we certainly welcome the support of Tea Partiers.
Do you think the Tea Party will help the Republicans? Some would say in Delaware it's hurt them because they expected Mike Castle to win that race easily, yet he lost the primary to Christine O'Donnell, and it looks like that race is already being projected to go to the Democrats.
Sure. I mean, there are so many different elements that go into different states. I think that, as a whole, I think the Tea Party has done a great job of really breathing life into the Republican Party. I think that there's nothing, negative that we're taking away from it. I think that it's a great group of folks who are turning up to vote and engaging in the process. So we're all for it.
Tim, I appreciate you joining us tonight, and good luck.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Tim Kelly, the press secretary for the Pat Toomey campaign here in Fogelsville, and we're expecting a long night here. Race is already being projected, but this one could be a while. Rob, Wendy?
All right, thanks, John.
All right, John. Could be a long evening. Let's talk about this U.S. Senate race.
Yeah.
We mentioned that Dr. Chris Borick from Muhlenberg College is with us, and nice to see you again. We're so glad you're here to give us a little analysis and expert opinion. I guess we're way too early in the Senate race, Dr. Borick, to have a feel for what's going on.
Yeah, Rob, it is early, and there's a lot to come in from other areas of the state. Some of those early results are based on Philadelphia and Pittsburgh results, but this should be a fairly close race. All the polling going in show that the margin was 3, 4, 5 points in favor of Pat Toomey. As was in the lead up to this race, turnout will be everything, and those results from Philadelphia, especially those turnout numbers, for a Democrat to win in Pennsylvania, especially in a Republican year, you're going to have to get some good turnout from Philadelphia itself. So it'll be interesting to watch how those results turn out in the next couple of hours.
You have an idea how good would have to be in Philadelphia? Because there was just some information on the wire that it's in the 40s, perhaps 40, 41%.
That's close. I'm thinking more in the 45, 46 range to probably do it. But that definitely would place it in the area where this thing is going to be competitive. And I think it's going to be competitive tonight. This is the one race in the state at the statewide level that I think might keep us interested for a little while.
So we may be here for a while as we look at that, and some other races as well. Pat Toomey had to, well, some might say, had to modify his position just a little bit compared to in the past, where he was at least portrayed as being too far to the right for Pennsylvania. But here he is may be on the road to winning.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. If you had asked me even 2 years ago, I would have probably said that Pat Toomey is too far to the right to win in a moderate state like Pennsylvania. But boy, the times have changed. This election cycle has been very conducive to Republican candidates and more conservative candidates, even in a consummately moderate place like Pennsylvania. So Pat Toomey, by being able to try to craft his conservative, fiscal conservative message in a time when that's popular, while really not being forced to take too many stances in more controversial, socially conservative issues, has made himself into the type of candidate that absolutely could win in the state. And I think he's run a great campaign. He has stayed on message. They've been very disciplined in coming back to that core principles of conservatism, and it's put him in the place where he might win the Senate bid in Pennsylvania this evening.
Now, obviously, you said, keeping track of these returns coming in the urban areas, more Democrat, they come in faster. At what point would we start to see maybe if there is a shift at all? Is it basically when the rest of the state comes in the suburbs? Because I know, obviously, the Philadelphia suburbs in this region, we saw a lot of the Republicans switched over to Democrats in the last election. Obviously, people can vote either way, but is there a certain area where he's really going to have to win? We're going to have to see big numbers for Corbett?
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Wendy. The suburban areas like Montgomery, Bucks County, of course the Lehigh Valley, those are going to be key areas where even if Democrats are voting for Tom Corbett, even if they're voting for people like Mike Fitzpatrick or for Charlie Dent in this district, if Joe Sestak is to win, he's going to have to do well in those places too. So Philadelphia would be a necessary condition for him to win the statewide race, but he also has to have good performances in the suburban Philly counties and up to the Lehigh Valley. So keeping an eye right here, what's happening in the Valley tonight will be key to any chances Sestak has of pulling this off.
All right. We'll be talking with Dr. Borick as the evening goes along. Thank you, sir, for that. And sit tight as we take a look at some congressional races this evening. We have quite a few hot ones, and, of course, control of the whole U.S. House is in question this evening. One of the races here in our viewing area is the 6th district race, where Jim Gerlach is defending his seat, looking for a 5th term in the 6th district. And the challenger is Democrat Manon Trivedi, a first time coming to politics, a medical doctor. And he is trailing in the early going, but very early. 5% of the precincts are reporting so far in that race. That's right. And Pam Cunningham is at Gerlach headquarters in Glenmore, Chester County. Hi, Pam.
I'm at Ludwig's Oyster Bar and Grill here in Chester County, where Congressman Jim Gerlach is waiting with his family, friends, and supporters to hear about the results for the 6th congressional seat tonight. Now, Congressman, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's a little early, but what has been the mood tonight and today as you're hearing what's going on?
Yeah, the mood out there is very exciting. People want change. They want Congress to really enact policies that are going to allow for more job creation, lower taxes, less spending. So when I was around the district, and I was over in Berks County quite a bit actually, the feedback was terrific. Our volunteers are really hepped up. They've gotten great feedback at the various polls that they worked. And the folks here tonight are just very excited and really are looking forward to a great prospect for change in Washington, D.C.
Although you've been there for a while, they don't want to necessarily change you. I guess that's what you're hoping.
Well, I think we're going to do very well, and I appreciate everybody's support. The name of the game is to elect somebody that knows the district, understands the district, and votes the district. You represent Republicans, Democrats, independents, non-registered people, and your responsibility is to those 700,000 people in your district. And we work very hard every day to meet their needs from a constituent service standpoint and to really reflect their views in the voting that we do in Washington. So I think we're going to have a pretty good night, and just so appreciative of everybody that supported us during this election.
Now, you obviously have a huge advantage being an incumbent. What did you think about your opponent this time around for the 5th time?
Well, he ran a very spirited race, and that's expected. It's a very competitive district, and the Democrats want to win it, the Republicans want to win it, and so everybody goes at it every 2 years. And he worked very, very hard to try to be successful, and I applaud him for that. But I think at the end of the day, voters want somebody they know, they trust, and really are on the right side of issues on taxes and spending and job creation. And I think that is going to be what ultimately is reflected in the vote.
I know it's early in the night, but if you do win, what do you think will be the first thing on your agenda starting in January?
Well, it's going to be jobs. And if you look at the House Republican Conference's Pledge to America, the number one priority is jobs, and the policies on taxes and spending and regulations, the things that will send the right signal to our job creators that we're just not going to raise your taxes, we're not going to continue to increase federal spending. We want that money to stay in the private sector so you can invest it in your own business, hire another person, another 2 people, do the things that create economic activity. I think they're going to get a strong signal that we mean business, and that means jobs. And I think that's exactly what the American people want.
All right, well, and we're going to be waiting tonight on Chester County, right? That's what you're predicting as far as knowing what's going to happen.
And Montgomery seem to come in a lot sooner than Chester County, but we look for a good vote out of each county, and we appreciate everybody that's helped us.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Well, as you heard, we're going to be listening to the results tonight from Berks and Montgomery, but we're anticipating that we're going to probably be having to wait for Chester County. So the congressman is not anticipating necessarily giving an acceptance speech tonight, but obviously we will stay here and have much more from Chester County. Reporting live, I'm Pam Cunningham for 69 News.
All right. Thanks, Pam.
Thank you, Pam, for that. A couple of other congressional races to get our first looks at. The 8th district race, the Bucks County race. We expect a tight battle. These guys are in the rematch. Patrick Murphy and Mike Fitzpatrick are, and it's knotted up. 15% of the district's reporting, and it's just about a tie at this point. And it could be close. It could be a very long night. And then there's a big question about absentee ballots, which maybe we'll save that discussion for a little while later, and take a look at the Lehigh Valley congressional race, the 15th district race.
That's right. And of course, this one with Charlie Dent going up against John Callahan, and we have Jake Town in there as well. And as expected, this one is relatively tight, but right now Charlie Dent out to a lead, less than half of the precincts reporting so far. But right now, Charlie Dent with 52% of the vote as compared to 42% for Callahan right now.
All right, we are only 15 minutes in, and all kinds of good stuff's happening. Let's take a brief break on Election Central, and we'll be right back.
You see them here.
All right, and welcome back to Election Central.
And we have lots more information to get to you, and the latest on the governor's race, for example, in Pennsylvania. Let's take a look at this. 14% of the precincts are reporting from across the state of Pennsylvania. Honorado in the early lead. And I can't do the math real quick, but it amounts to, what, 57% of the vote to 43% for Corbett. This is very early, and we discussed some of that before. It depends where the votes are coming from.
That's right.
And the Pittsburgh and Philly areas will trend Democrats. So some of those returns already may be in, because as you know, prior to this night, Corbett had a fairly substantial lead in the polls.
All right, we're going to head out to Melissa Fullerton now. She is live in Pittsburgh at Dan Honorado's headquarters. Hi, Melissa.
Hello, Rob and Wendy. We are at the IBEW Union Hall, and you may remember this is where Dan Honorado celebrated his victory in the primaries a few short months ago, and this is where he is hoping to celebrate again tonight. Now, unfortunately, you cannot see the crowd that is here. The food is behind my cameraman, so that is where there is a large crowd of people congregating. They are not behind me right now, but when Dan Honorado takes the stage a little later this evening, they will certainly move up. But I would say there's a sense of cautious optimism in this room tonight. We've seen the polls leading up to this race. We've heard what the pundits have to say about this not being a good year for Democrats, but still, people here are optimistic, and like you said, early on in the polls, Dan Honorado is looking fairly good, so we'll have to wait and see. We do have some exit poll information, though, that said Honorado won over the majority of voters under 40, but the majority of independent voters went with Corbett, so not much of a telling story there, but still, he did have quite a good following throughout this election. One hurdle he did have to overcome was name recognition in our part of the state. Back here in Allegheny County in Pittsburgh, he's been a fixture in local government for more than a decade, but back home in the Lehigh Valley, Berks County, he really had to work to get his name out. Same with Tom Corbett, who's based here in Pittsburgh. Probably remember that ad from Dan Honorado that ran through this election season when he held up the sign and said, "Some of you have trouble saying my name. It's Dan Honorado." That just the name recognition alone is one thing he's had to overcome in this election. He is expected to come here a little later this evening. We're expecting to see him with his family, but at this point, we don't know what time he's planning to arrive. And like I said, pretty much a cautious optimism in the room tonight. Some media outlets have already called this race We are not one of them, so as is the theme throughout the early hours on every election night, we will just have to wait and see. So for now, we're going to send it back to you, and we will check in a little while.
All right, thanks, Melissa.
Thank you, Melissa. And of course, the other side is the Tom Corbett campaign, the Republican, who is trailing in the early going. And Bo Koltnow is in Pittsburgh as well, covering the Corbett campaign tonight. Bo?
Robin Wendy, I'm on the 17th floor in the grand ballroom of the Omni Hotel here in downtown Pittsburgh at the Corbett campaign, and now I'm joined by Kevin Harley. He's the communications director. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
You bet. Thank you.
So early returns have Honorado leading Tom tonight. Any thoughts about that?
Well, Republicans always trail early in the night, and then as the night goes on and more of the Republican counties come in, particularly in the central part of the state known as the T, Republican T, that's usually where Republicans take the lead. For example, in 2008, when Tom Corbett won by got 3 million votes and got more votes than any Republican in the history of Pennsylvania, he was trailing very, very badly early in the evening, and it wasn't until about 10:30, quarter to 11, that he went ahead and then, of course, stayed ahead the rest of the night.
What counties do you guys have to win? Is Philadelphia a must-win county? Because right now, Tom's trailing pretty heavily in that.
Well, there's no way a Republican will ever win Philadelphia. We have no thought of ever winning Philadelphia. We just have to make sure we don't lose very, very badly there. You know, the counties we need to do well in, certainly Lancaster, the south central counties, we want to do very well in the Lehigh Valley. We think we're very competitive there. And then the, in the central part of the state, in the western part of the state, Westmoreland County, Cambria, Blair County, we think we're going to do very well.
And, with any political campaign, sometimes it just comes down to who can sell the best message. What is the message that you guys have been trying to sell to the Pennsylvania public over the past 6 months?
Well, that Tom Corbett is the best candidate to reduce the size of government, to reduce taxes, and to encourage and create an economic environment where the private sector can create jobs for people.
What message do you think has resonated most with voters? Because messages from both Honorado's campaign and your campaign are pretty similar.
Well, I think that Tom is a proven leader and has the courage and steadfastness to stick to the decisions that he makes to get Pennsylvania moving in the right direction.
So right now we have a pretty big party going on the 17th floor. Do you guys expect to be partying around 11:30 tonight?
Yes, we do. We expect to be a great victory tonight.
Hey, I really appreciate the time. Thank you very, very much, Kevin. Robin Wendy, that's what's happening here on the grand ballroom of the Omni Hotel in downtown Pittsburgh. People are having a very good time, and they hope to keep that up through the rest of the night. Live in Pittsburgh, Bo Koltnow, 69 News.
All right. Thank you so much, Bo.
Thanks, Bo. Let's come back to the Lehigh Valley congressional race. Here's where it stands. 52% of the precincts. This number has jumped up a lot here. You see Charlie Dent, the incumbent, out in the lead. 52% of the vote so far. This is what that 28,000 amounts to 41% for the Democrat John Callahan, the mayor of Bethlehem, and 7%. Jake Town, the independent candidate, is pulling at this point with almost 3,700 votes.
All right. Let's take a peek at the headquarters right now. We're going to go out to Will Lewis. He is at Callahan's headquarters in Bethlehem Township, Northampton County tonight. Hi, Will.
Hi, Wendy and Rob. Everything is excitement right now. The excitement is building as a lot of the supporters have just started coming in, and they're looking at the early returns, and they're liking what they see. Right now, I want to go ahead and bring in Joe Long, the Northeast Caucus Chair for the Pennsylvania Democratic Committee. And Joe, first of all, with Callahan being up early, how do you like what you're seeing right now?
Well, I'm excited about what's going on. I haven't seen this much excitement in the congressional races probably since Paul McHale took this seat back, I don't know how many years ago that was, but it's just exciting to see this. And I can't compliment the work and effort that went into this election for John Callahan. I mean, we had a great get out the vote effort on behalf of all the volunteers that came out from day one. They're the backbone of what occurred here. I mean, the phone calls they made, knocking on the doors, just contacting everybody, and the extra effort that was put out today also just contributed to what we're seeing today, and I'm really excited about what I see.
Right, and not only the volunteers, but you guys did bring in some high-powered Democrats Democrats, and how did that help getting some larger than normal turnout here for the midterm election?
Well, I think by having former President Bill Clinton come into the Lehigh Valley really charges the base here, and having him come in when he did, and also Joe Biden coming in also, the Vice President of the country, just built more credibility to why Callahan should be elected to Congress today.
There was supposed to be, we're not done with the night, but they're saying there was supposed to be some backlash against Democrats. Do you like what you're seeing right now?
I do. I mean, I'm talking locally. I'm talking here in the Lehigh Valley. As far as this congressional race is concerned, I'm really excited about that. And I also look optimistically at where Joe Sestak is at this particular time also, and some of our local races in Northampton and Lehigh County. I'm very good about all of
All right. Thank you so much, Joe Long. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Pleasure.
And that's how it's going right now. Wendy and Rob, they're very anxious here, and we will keep you updated as things go on. Now, back to you.
All right. Thanks, Will.
Thank you, Will. In the early going, Congressman Charlie Dent has the lead in that race with just over half of the precincts reporting. And our Jaccii Farris is covering the Dent camp tonight over at the Best Western. Jackie?
Well, I tell you what, the mood here is really lively. People are cheering every time the numbers come up. And, of course, Dent is ahead when those numbers come down so far. But the mood is light now. But that hasn't been the case on the campaign trail thus far. There's been a lot of sparring between Dent and his primary challenger, Bethlehem Mayor John Callahan. And to talk about that, I'm joined now by the Lehigh County Republican Chairman, Wayne Woodman. Now, Charlie has always been a scrapper, but it comes down to voter turnout. Numbers were good in Allentown, Bethlehem, and Easton, but were they good enough for the Republicans? What are your thoughts?
Well, from what I've seen out there today, from the organization that our committee had and the execution we had on the ground today, I have no doubt that our turnout is going to put Charlie and other candidates for our party over the top today.
Now, the good thing about that a lot of people in this room will say is that Charlie has always been loved by the Democrats. What is it about Charlie Dent that will get him some of those Democratic votes?
Well, first and foremost, Charlie represents this district, and he represents it well. People know Charlie. He's built relationships with them personally, and they understand where he stands, and he's been consistent throughout his career on who he is and what he believes in. And that's going to show right through all of those negative ads that you've been talking about today.
Now, I know Callahan tried to paint him in the corner, attack some of his votes. Primarily, there's been a lot of ads running about Charlie's votes on veterans. So you don't think that that kind of attack would stick to Charlie, is what you're saying?
Negative ads undermine empty suits. Charlie Dent is no empty suit. He's a brand that's been around for a long time in this county, and he's going to be around for a lot longer.
Now, you just saw that Callahan supporters were over there. They're hoping that he pulls it out. You're hoping that Dent pulls it out. What exactly, if Charlie is able to take another term, what is he going to have to do in order to try to help heal the divide that this country is seeing with so many people on one side saying, you know, we need to get in there and clean house, and so many people on the other side saying, no, we need more time. What is it that the next congressman is going to have to do?
Well, I think not just Charlie, but the entire Congress is going to have to understand that America is interested right now in less debt and more jobs. And I think it's important, really important, that what we do when we get in is to focus on those two things. And not to rule from some ideology, but to rule in fact to cause those things to happen. Less debt, more jobs, less government, less regulation. Let's put this country back to work. That's what I think.
All right, Wayne Woodman, Lehigh County Republican Chair, thank you so much for joining us. Now, we're being told that Charlie is going to make an appearance later on in the night, and when he does, we'll bring him to you. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks, Jackie.
Thank you, Jackie. All right, some of the other congressional races we're following tonight in New Jersey. This is in South Jersey, but a lot of people know John Runyon, even if you are not in that area of New Jersey as you watch this, because he played for the Philadelphia Eagles, and he is now into politics and taking a shot at that, and is in the early lead over an incumbent Democratic congressman by the name of John Adler in the 3rd District. In fact, so far, Runyon's pulling almost 60% of the votes, but again, that's fairly early in the 3rd District.
That's right. Taking a look at the 5th district, still early here as well, just 7% in, but you can see the Republican winning here as well. Scott Garrett, the incumbent, he's going for his 6th term, almost 70% of the vote here. Still early, however, the Republicans in the lead in a lot of these congressional races, and that seems to be a trend nationwide that we're seeing. In fact, CNN's already projecting that the GOP is going to take control of the House. They needed, what, 39 seats to do so.
Right. So it's looking like they will, in fact, do so tonight. And here's a fellow, Scott Siprel, who could be one of the new Republican lawmakers going to Washington if this holds true. Again, very early numbers, but this is the 12th district where the Democratic incumbent is Rush Holt, seeking a 7th term. So Siprel is looking for an upset tonight, and he has jumped into the early lead in the 12th district.
All right, let's take a look at the freeholders now. This is Hunterdon County freeholders. 98